different from intelligence. So how is EQ, emotional quotient, different from IQ, intelligence quotient? Well, emotional quotient, the first time that we thought of emotional intelligence was 1985. And we have Wayne Payne, who in the doctoral thesis titled A Study of Emotion, Developing Emotional Intelligence, gave us the term emotional intelligence. Whereas when we think of intelligence, then an IQ, we think of Francis Galton's paper titled Inquiries into the Human Faculties and its Development, and the origin we find in 1883. And emotional intelligence, mathematically emotional quotient as a mathematical index representation, and IQ is a mathematical index of intelligence. We know, we are aware of it, that if we take the mental age of a child, divide, or any person of an individual, and we take the mental age of that person, divide it by the chronological age and multiply it by 100, we will get the intelligence quotient. Now, intelligence helps us to develop abilities, to develop reasoning abilities, research abilities, abstract thinking, logical reasoning. But emotional intelligence, as I said, the pivot is only emotions. It will help us to self-regulate, to motivate, to be empathetic, develop social skills, be self-aware. If a person has high emotional intelligence, a person usually is a team leader. You will find team managers or leaders, team leaders, managers, employers, they have emotional intelligence. If they are successful, of course. If they are not successful, then they don't have emotional intelligence. But if they are successful, they do have emotional intelligence. A successful teacher needs to have emotional intelligence. But someone who has intelligence only and not emotional intelligence would probably be good in challenging tasks, research-oriented work, and will not be so good in emotional relationships, in dealing with students, etc. Someone with emotional intelligence probably could do both if the IQ is high as also the EQ is high. And there are various tests to test emotional intelligence, like Mays-Salevo Cariso test, Daniel Goleman model score, and for intelligence, quotient identification, calculation, testing, we have a Stanford Binet scale, we have Bechler scale. These are age-old scales which still hold good, and there are so many more. So having a discussion on neurodiversity and the paradigm of neurodiversity and emotional intelligence, finally then we come to our third segment of our topic today. I feel that this would be the most significant, because what is the use of having knowledge of neurodiversity and emotional intelligence unless you and I are unable to apply that knowledge in our classrooms, in our schools, in the corridors where we meet the children, in our classrooms, in the halls, in the auditorium, wherever we are meeting the children, the playground, wherever we are meeting the children, we have to apply this knowledge of neurodiversity and emotional intelligence, for which I feel the first thing which a teacher needs to understand, that we need to acknowledge and respect the individual student's sensory processing needs. I have mentioned this earlier, and I would like to harp on the same string, that not all students think same. Not all relate to something in the same manner. We are all aware of it. Most of us, I understand what Manushi has said, that over here, most of us are teachers. So we are already aware of this. But very, very, very important is we acknowledge that we acknowledge and respect the students students' sensory processing needs. Now, understanding the needs of neurodivergent students is crucial in our efforts if we want to create a welcoming and an inclusive classroom. So if we want to create an inclusive classroom, definitely we need to acknowledge and respect one's sensory needs. And nothing is going to be successful if you and I teach where in a classroom the psychological climate of the classroom is not good. So for the psychological climate of the psychological climate of the classroom to be a good one, a healthy one, a comfortable one, we need to acknowledge and respect one's sensory processing needs. Secondly, I feel supporting neurodivergent learning. There are many teachers I have seen who do not support neurodivergent learning. They explain things in the same manner. If a student raises her hand or his hand and asks a question, then the teacher goes back to the explanation and explains it exactly verbatim, word by word, the way he or she had explained. Now, obviously, that portion of the explanation was not understood by this child. So, we have to explain it differently now, with different wordings, different examples, and maybe slow pace, maybe repetition, with the challenges, of course, of completing a syllabus or taking on the curriculum. So supporting neurodivergent learning, we need to adapt teaching strategies to accommodate students who have varied learning styles. Examples: a teacher needs to be flexible, needs to repeat, repetition, modify curriculum. Even the workloads that we give students may not always be the same, depending on how much a child can take, how much a student can take. Even that workload can be tailored, like your instruction can be tailored. Your set of instructions can be tailored to suit their needs. Because in every classroom, you will have students who are gifted, at least above average, if not within the IQ of 120, 130, who we technically call gifted, but you will have students who are above average. You will have slow learners, you will have remedial students needing remedial instruction, but the majority of the children in a regular classroom would be average. So supporting their neurodivergent learning is, again, I feel a teacher needs to be flexible, adopt teaching strategies to respond to the needs of the students, repeat the lesson, workloads to be worked out, instructions should be tailored, etc. Third, we move on to facilitating neurodivergent social communication. Now, every student